Hey everybody, welcome back to LudiaTV. I'm Brandon Lee. I get to be the host, and we're going to have a really fun conversation today. So I get to be visited today by Bobby Hunnicutt. He is with Vixxo, and he is the VP of Information Technology, the VP of IT. I like that, VP of IT, Bobby. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So Bobby, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at Vixxo? I know you've been in this role for about 3 months, but you've been with Vixxo for about 5 years. So you mind tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so I joined Vixxo as kind of a manager of reporting strategy, helping Vixxo get an understanding of all of the different reporting elements that they have coming from business objects, just trying to wrangle what is the single source of truth and how do we kind of distribute that across our company and to our clients. And then I've kind of moved up in that role, taking on more responsibilities, taking over Power BI, building out a large reporting platform in Power BI called Vixxo Lens, and then most recently transitioned over to the VP of IT, where I'm running our technology department, helping Vixxo solve its problems on that front, and
Mhm.
really enjoying it and learning a ton by the day. It's been quite the change.
So I got two things I'm thinking about. So I'll see if I can ask them one at a time and not everything at once. But tell me how big is Vixxo? Like how many people are out in the field? And you've got a lot of technology that you're managing for a lot of people that are out in the field.
Yeah, so Vixxo with full-time employees are about 500 associates for people that are in the field, over several hundred. But a large of part of Vixxo is our third-party network. We've got around 10,000 technicians with different mom and pop shops, larger service providers that are helping us do work for our customers. But for field service, we're about a couple hundred active technicians that are in the field.
So you've got a lot going on with field technicians.
Correct. Yeah, they are. They do a lot of very important work for our customers, and we've been using Dynamics to kind of help them drive their day, get them to sites, making sure that we're managing the inventory levels and all of the other stuff that they need to handle on a day-to-day basis.
Excellent, excellent. So Bobby, the other question I have, I know Vixo is taking AI very serious, and I think that's partly why your new role and the role that you're in is to really focus on AI. Can you tell us a little bit about that initiative and what you're doing?
Yeah, so it's kind of the AI is project is a response to what we're seeing in the market. You got all these older technicians that have decades worth of training and experience that are kind of leaving the job market, leaving this vast knowledge gap. And so, how do we get brand new technicians that are entering the market or kind of early in their career, all of that institutional knowledge that they need to perform better on the job site? So, we're using AI to try and take notes or technician equipment manuals and put those into the hands of technicians that are on site at a customer location so they can operate better. They can fix things quicker, reduce reduce downtime, etc. And also the large possibilities of generative AI on things like customer notes or technician notes. How do we take all of that information and distill it into communication that is legible, that reads really well with our customers, and is getting them the right communication when they need it.
Yeah, that's it, more and more of these conversations I have, I just keep hearing about that this older generation is phasing out and they've got so much knowledge in their head. And
Mm.
did the company do a good job of creating processes and systems and downloading that out of their brains or not? So it sounds like you guys are getting ahead of that as quick as you can.
Yeah, it's that silver tsunami. How do we take all of that knowledge that and make sure it's not being lost so we can make sure we're maintaining the level of care and excellence with our customers and our technicians?
So Bobby, you all at Vixo, you're doing a lot of work with AI, and you just referenced the silver tsunami again, and I hear that term a lot. Can you tell us a little bit, like, what are some of the things that you are doing with generative AI that's helping prepare for this silver tsunami transition?
Yeah, so it's kind of part of this project that we're building with Ludia to try and take manufacturer equipment manuals and then use the knowledge that's in there, the troubleshooting steps to put that information into a newer technician's hands via a chatbot. So they can say, hey, how do I troubleshoot this piece of equipment? And it would give them the steps. Hey, check this, replace, and then that finally replace this part. That's the broken part, as opposed to them having to know all of that in their head and then be able to relay that out. We're hoping to help them get to the answer quicker, without having to go through the 25 steps. Maybe they get to skip to step 17 based on what the AI
Yeah.
engine is able to discern from their problem. And the other side is, how do we summarize notes from the technician? So sometimes our technicians will give us very um, detailed recount of what they did. Hey, I replaced this part. I did this thing. Maybe that's not going to read really well for like a store manager or a store supervisor. They just want to know that the thing was done. How can we take all that technical information and the information from Vixxo, when the tech got there, and distill that into a really concise note of like, hey, here's your essentially your Vixxo report card of everything that happened to this asset today from our point of view.
That's really cool. So what it sounds to me is that you're allowing the technician to write notes based on who they are, and technicians tend to be from a unique mindset, and
Mhm.
what they want to do and document is going to be a little bit more detailed, and you're using generative AI to create some summaries so that, say, a manager or somebody just gets to the meat. They get what's important to them and they don't have to go through the entire document. So you're not limiting the field technicians, you're letting them be who they are and document what they want, but providing it in a way for others in a more concise manner. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of our technicians are cut from a different cloth, where they take a lot of pride in the work that they're doing
Mhm.
out there, and we're just trying to make sure that we're conveying that message in a legible format to our end customers.
Yeah. And Bobby, why is that so important? Having that in place, why is that so important for Vixxo and for other companies with field technicians?
Yeah, so for on the summary notes portion, because Vixxo is fixing not a lot of actual of our equipment. We've got that large service provider network I was talking about. So we're kind of managing things from afar. So really those notes are really the only way that we're able to kind of understand what was happening at that site and what was actually done. And that's how you convey that to the customer. So when they have an invoice come in saying, hey, you owe X amount of dollars, they want to know what they're paying for. And those notes are how we can say, hey, this is what was actually done to your piece of equipment from the technician's point of view. That's why those notes are so critical. And if we can do anything to upscale those or make them better to read, it just kind of benefits Vixxo and the client.
Yeah. And from my understanding, you all are pretty early adopters with this. Are feel like you're leading the charge into this new generation?
It For our particular use case, it definitely feels like it, and it's my first time being on, like, the bleeding edge of a technology where we ran, like, a POC of this project last year in, like, quarter 3, quarter 4, and actually started it in February of this year, and it's like, what has changed in this space? What new technologies are available? Oh, there is a new process for doing this thing that was kind of cumbersome in the POC. How do we change to adopt to this? How do we build it to be flexible? Because we're so early. We're so early in the generative AI space that if you're not planning your system to be flexible, you're going to be really outdated once they start moving on to larger AI models or better engines or better processes for ingesting information. And so it's like almost constantly reading articles, constantly watching like YouTube videos of new things that are coming out, following press conferences just to see if there's anything that's coming down the pike that I need to be aware of to make sure that we're pivoting to.
It's like you're an investigator as part of your IT role these days.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just like build it and then put it out there. This is like a project that has to be maintained. You have to continue to adjust the dials and knobs because it is a self-governing AI engine where it's gonna learn how to respond and get new information and make sure that you're validating any sort of hallucinations or getting feedback from the field and said, "Hey, AI actually said this when it's actually this. Okay, how do I make documentation that supports that and trains the AI to steer towards the correct answer?" And it builds lots of interesting little habits and we're constantly learning about generative AI every single day. Like I saw like this article the other day where it's like to get a good response from like a chat GPT, you never want to say the word please, because all chat GPT is doing is essentially a big math calculation to say, hey, based on the words that you gave it, there once was a boy, and it kind of fills that out of what is the most likely next piece of text that should go after that. When you say, "Hey, will you please do this?" A mathematical likely response to please is no, and it will say no. So never give it the option to back out of something if you want a result. And it's like all of these like really, really interesting nuances of ChatGPT is just I find it super fascinating.
That is very fascinating, and I know that you are gonna be speaking about this at a workshop at Field Services USA, and, I appreciate knowing that your heart is you're like, "Hey, this is all the stuff that I'm learning, and I'm gonna go share it with other people in the industry."
Yeah, because it feels like everyone's talking about generative AI. It's you cannot go anywhere without escaping it. A lot of people talk about it in theory. Vixxo has actually like put money on the line to build a product to try and do something with it, and that's kind of what we're hoping to share at Field Services. Hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're learning. If you're going to try and do something similar, these are the things that you might need to be aware of, or how would you approach these things?
Yeah, that's great. Well, Bobby, I sure appreciate you spending time with us today on Ludia TV. If somebody's out there listening, besides coming to see the workshop at Field Services USA, they had questions for you, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
You can email me directly at robert.hunnicutt@vixxo.com. You can go to my LinkedIn, which is just my name, Robert Hunnicutt. And those are all the channels that I really have for communication.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bobby, for joining us. And for everybody, thank you for joining us again on another episode of Ludia TV. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Take care, everybody.